I did.
So
Not
nobody's
something
going
on
to
the
get
regular.
regulated at that point.
Would you look your book up yard and your neighbors didn't like it, did they?
Well, sure, but I don't have an HOA, so there's nobody that's going to
This,
regulate it. They may
excuse
get
me,
mad.
this is a public hearing, and I do have two speakers. David Stanton.
I don't really have.
Mark, are you in support or opposition?
I'm not. I want to put the pantry up.
I knew the answer.
Yeah.
I don't want to check your.
No, I wasn't exactly sure how to put that.
That's
fine. No, this was, and I appreciate the work that you guys have done. And I feel bad about that we've had to discuss this twice, and the work that they've done, trying to figure this out. But we just want to put a pantry similar to the free little libraries that are already there in the yard, and see what happens. And we'll put signage on it, that says, like we talked with the city staff, it's got to be non-perishable, boxed or canned food. We don't want people, dropping off cheeseburgers or things like that. But we just want, however that can work, to be able to put that up.
But see, I think if we don't put some kind of regulations, we can't regulate some of the stuff and put some cheeseburger in there.
Just bring me the cheeseburgers.
We gotta keep that health. The health and safety code, we could regulate the perishable food items.
I mean, just like you can't regulate what kind of books people leave in the free little library. Somebody could bring,
Or if someone puts a hamburger in the library.
right.
And then like,
And the same way you can't regulate what candy people give out at Halloween. It's
okay.
well, in my mom's yard, we'll do our best to stay on top of it and make sure. I'll take care of the hamburgers, I guess. Whatever. So,
Thank you.
that's it. All right.
Naomi
Ehrenberg.
that's it.
My name is Naomi Ehrenberg. I live at 7841 Drew Lane, and I'm going to be a 6th grader at Franksdale Middle School. More importantly, I am a concerned citizen and future voter of Midlothian, Texas. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And I agree with that. As a young lady and avid reader, I have gained a lot of knowledge from reading various books. Some books I have borrowed from the library, but many of the books I have read and have come from the people here locally by way of book exchange kiosks. My first exposure to a book exchange kiosk was shortly after my family moved to Midlothian. We were at a local park and saw the book exchange kiosk. And we thought it was a birdhouse, so we went to check it out. Although we were at a park and not a library, I had no intentions of reading that day. The book exchange kiosk really caught my attention. I left the park that day with 2 free books, courtesy of some generous stranger. These books were Meet Kaya and Kaya's Escape, Book 1 and Book 2 from the American Girls collection. I read these books to myself, and then when my cousins came to visit, I read one of these books to my younger cousin, who had never shown any interest in reading. This book really caught her attention and showed that reading can be fun. What was I doing for others? Well, you can say I introduced a young girl to the joys of reading. You can also say that one stranger in Midlothian introduced me to one of my favorite book series by way of the book exchange kiosk. It has come to my attention that the Midlothian City Council is considering a $300 permit and regulations for area and height restrictions. That's quite a contrast compared to the action taken by Tempe, Arizona, where citizens who install a little free library on their property receive a $300 tax rebate. I may only be 11 years old, but I'm smart enough to know that no good is going to come from a $300 permit. What will happen, though, is that citizens are going to take down these book exchange kiosks because no one should pay $300 to do a good deed. Now let me ask you, what exactly are you doing for others? You're considering making Midlothian citizens pay $300 for encouraging literature. Today there are around 1,000 of these little free libraries in Texas, nearly 100 in Austin alone. And here we are in a small little town named Midlothian, and our city council is over here considering putting a $300 permit and regulations, which in my opinion is absurd. So make your choice. Free literature or an unreasonable permit that will do what exactly? What do you think you're going to do with that? I suggest we stop and think about what Martin Luther King Jr. said. What are you doing for others?
Thank you.
I have one question. When do you plan to run for Congress?
That is a good question, because I've heard that there was a $300, and that is, where did that came from?
We're not sure where
I have
that,
one more speaker. You can go ahead.
we're not sure that we heard.
But
It's not
you're
in the
There is
ordinance.
no,
No, it's not. So just
that is
pull
not
over.
true.
Probably on Facebook.
I think so.
Thank you. Dan Altman. You almost missed the bus.
I did almost miss the bus. I was running late from the office, but thank you, Mayor. Dan Alden, 474 Lily Court, here in Midlothian. I am on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I just want to briefly say our discussion about this was very divided, of course. We came down to the distinction about regulations. And I want to just talk on that just very briefly, because when you look at regulations, the question of any time you have a regulation is whether or not you're addressing a need that the community already has, or you're anticipating and thinking the worst of your fellow citizens if they're going to do stupid things like get rotten cheeseburgers out or leave the wrong books in their book boxes. And I come down to the position that until people do something that needs to be, that shows they need to be regulated, there's no need to put these regulations on the community. My position on this is that what we have here is people caring for one being kind to another, whether it's food or books, and we shouldn't regulate that and shouldn't step into that. And I think that's where 4 of the 3 members of the Planning and Zoning Commission came down to in the end, and I would ask you not to enact a regulation, simply leave this to be an area to trust that our fellow citizens can do good to one another without being watched over. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Some of these are going to be on private property. Actually, I feel much more comfortable that that private property person is going to monitor what books go in there or what food, unlike in parks where you never know what's going to go in. So I tend to agree that it's going to be regulated by the property owner that agrees to build one.
I will say this, this is sort of my realm. I'm with the nonprofit world, and one of the biggest challenges to getting people to go into a food bank when they have genuine need is the pride issue. And so what these things do is they lower that down so that somebody can sneak up to one of these boxes, grab what they need. There's a lot more hungry people in Midlothian than any of us know. There's a lot of hungry people.
Was that a motion you made?
I make a motion, close the public hearing, Mayor.
Second. Okay. All right. Record your votes.
Make a motion to deny 2018-268.
Second.
Now that's
Record.
yes.
Yes.
We agree that we don't have regulation.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Our next item of business is 2018-269, conduct a public hearing and consider and act upon an ordinance for a specific use permit for Love's Travel Shop to increase the maximum building area of the existing truck tire shop, allow for shipping, container storage, and provide for new building elevations.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. The Love's Truck Shop, or Truck Tire Shop, consists of over 4,700 square feet. This does contain two open service bays with an enclosure in the middle. The applicant would like to enclose one of the existing service bays, open air service bays, using matching masonry material with an overhead door. This request will not affect the overall footprint of the building, but will only increase the amount of enclosure of that same building. So just a bit of history about the Love's property. The property has been in violation of the existing SUP as it stands today, as shipping containers are currently being used for storage of new tires. Violation letters were previously sent to Love's regarding these containers, which has prompted Love's to initiate these changes in the existing ordinance that they were brought before you today. So to summarize, the applicant is seeking amendments to the SUP, and that is obviously to increase the maximum size to include that new enclosure. You can see that enclosure here, here on considered more of the left side up on the screen. Replace the existing elevations with these new revised elevations as shown on the screen. This would also allow, or the applicant is also asking obviously, is to allow the two shipping containers to remain on the property to still continue to store these new tires. This would be completely screened by a 9-foot masonry wall on all sides as well. So the elevations that the applicant has provided do meet our design requirements. The applicant has actually also agreed to remove the extra signage that you can kind of see here on this image that I have here on the screen. The applicant has asked to remove all of that signage and actually only keep one Love sign. That would be kind of dependent if we want that facing US 287 or we want that kind of facing to the south. We did send out a total of 7 notifications to all surrounding property owners. We did not receive any response back. So back in July, or just last month, the Planning and Zoning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of the proposed request as presented. Staff also recommends as presented as well. With that, I can take any of your questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
It pertains to this addition when it was built. They were in violation on their landscape ordinance for a number of years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How can we put a time limit or something on this? How do we know that they're going to do what we approve or if we approve?
Well, actually, you are correct. For a number of years, they were actually in violation of the landscaping. Love's has actually installed all required landscaping based on the existing SUP. Staff has gone out there. We have completely checked to make sure that all the required trees, all required bushes have been installed on the property. And as of today, everything has been installed currently and irrigated as well. So they actually expanded the irrigation and installed all required trees and bushes.
Why did they do that? Because it appears that this was confusing, because in one place you said that they did, and there's another place that says that they would have to get a CO. They couldn't get their CO until they finished their landscape.
Right. Now, they at one point, they did not have, the very first time Love's approached us, or we actually approached the council, this was a few months back. They were still out of compliance. They did not have their landscaping installed. So they were to come here to ask to expand their building and build this new wall around these shipping containers, and actually to request that the shipping containers stay on the property. We did inform them that they were still currently out, or they were still currently in violation. So for them to be able to come before to ask to amend the SUP, it just really didn't make any sense. The idea is to get them into compliance, which they did. They did get into compliance for that one aspect, just the landscaping. The shipping containers, which still keeps them somewhat in violation.
Somewhat?
Well, still in violation, I guess I should say. Let me clarify that. Still in violation.
But the problem's to fix that.
That their remedy to fix that is to actually build this 9-foot wall and completely screen. Now, if you look at the existing SUP, as it shows today, they are allowed to have outdoor storage, and they're allowed to have that, any tires, I believe, I forgot which number that is, but on there it does state that all outdoor storage of tires can exist on the property. It has to be screened with a masonry wall. It doesn't really say how tall the wall has to be, but it says a screened masonry wall is required. So in lieu of that, they were trying to use these shipping containers to store their tires. And that's where these violation letters were actually issued to them about the shipping containers.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just got a lot of questions on this. I just don't get this whole shipping container issue. I guess what I'm getting at, when you found the shipping container violation, because as we look at those ground level pictures, it at least looked to me like somebody had taken some time to paint those shipping containers of light color, of a resemblance of the building, where I'm used to seeing them in red and blue and all kinds of wild colors. Is that correct, that they were painted or they weren't painted?
I'm not aware of them being painted. That's never been brought to our attention.
I guess if we go back, do you have that ground picture,
Sure.
that ground level? I think it's back to you,
This
right
one
there.
Right.
Hey, see, that just almost looks to me like it matches. Like, I'm wondering, like, we didn't even see it because it's like it's camo style. What I'm also thinking is they can't have the shipping container because we just don't allow them at all.
Right, correct. We actually just don't.
So what? I can't think of that product is made to ship products across the ocean.
Yes, sir.
And absorb shocks from salt water, sea, all types of abuses. I would much rather, in my opinion, as long as it's out of sight, out of mind, as that is. I'm assuming that's behind the main building. That the overhead we're looking at there, that is the overhead for filling the trucks up in the back, right?
Yes, sir. They would be located.
So it's way out of sight, out of mind. It's right in the middle of the property. People don't even park up in there really. So if we've got in their regular, I guess it's their approved SUP that they were operating off of, that they can have exterior storage of tires. I'm assuming this is stacked tires of a acceptable amount without a roof over.
That is correct.
Okay.
The SUP did not specify.
So they can have stacked tires without a roof over them, and we both know what tires do when they're stacked and it rains.
Absolutely. You've got West Nile, you've got...
So I can't think of a better thing they could have done than put them in a sea-bearing container enclosed. Now, did you guys find that they had not been responsible in that and had all kinds of stuff trashed around, or everything was pretty well contained in the sea-bearing container?
Everything was pretty well contained within the actual container. Now, we did find, as you can see, there is some, I'd say just building material that kind of surrounds around that area. Stuff.
Are they not allowed
In a garbage.
Right. Now, any type of outdoor storage, completely prohibited, according to how the SUP is written.
So that's not allowed?
That is not allowed. Now, the reason they do have that, I can't...
Anywhere on the whole property?
Anywhere on the whole property. Cannot have outdoor storage. Now, that is per the SUP. That is very specific to what the SUP states. Keep in mind that the reason they have this storage here was that they were already planning to build something. This is basically building material that they've had out there for quite some time. But then again, everything kind of sort of came to a halt once those violation letters came out, and the idea that exposed shipping containers did not fall within any of our regulations. Now, we do regulate shipping containers from a residential standpoint.
Well, I paint them of light green or brown.
Yeah, I think you have to be over 10 acres of land, and there's so on and so forth.
I just see so many applications in the commercial environment where that is the best application, but I just wanted to understand it better, so I think I do now.
Well, I think from a safety standard, because those tires are probably pretty expensive, and they can
Yes,
probably
sir.
go away
Yes, sir. Well, and keep in mind that my understanding again is that the original 1,400 square feet within this area here was holding new tires, used tires, landscape equipment. There's a mezzanine within this area. There's additional storage in back. They've just outgrown this area.
I guess my other question I had, and
Well,
go ahead,
excuse me, just a
sorry,
second.
Mayor.
It was in the SUP, it was limited to tire repairs and tire sales.
Yes, sir. That
I
is.
remember the SUP. So,
But I think we did. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Joey. But I think we did talk about
Yeah, it allowed for any, I'm looking at the SUP right now, it said any outdoor storage of any tires shall be placed behind a masonry wall.
right. Correct.
Absolutely.
Marcus, is that the two containers right there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can still see them here. The containers have been out there for quite some time now. Long time.
Do we issue these citations for it?
We did issue violation letters. Violation letters did go out to them, but I think those violation letters were placed on hold while we tried to go through a process. And the first attempt kind of came to a halt again because the landscaping was not up to par. They took some time out, actually installed all the correct irrigation, the correct amount of vegetation, the correct amount of trees. Now they're in compliance for the most part,
Except
not
for
fully,
containers.
except for the shipping containers.
how about the signs? Did they get permits for those signs?
Actually, Mayor, they did get permits for the signs, and they actually did, according to.
Does that not
what I
pass
read.
our code?
Our current code, no, but the code from before, this actually did meet.
So they're grandfathered in?
Okay.
Yes, sir, yes, sir,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay, it was just a question.
But keep in mind that Love's is, they have stated that they actually don't really need any of these signs anymore. They don't need any signage. They would like to just keep one sign. Actually, and I'm not sure if David is in the audience here, they had actually mentioned they could just remove all signage from that. They really don't need the signs.
It's not the love signs, it's all the other.
Sure.
Golf tire signs we're moving, leave
Yeah.
a love tire care sign there.
And I think we talked about just having one Love
I
sign.
thought we were gonna do both sides, one on the south, one on the east.
Ah, well,
Yeah.
okay. I was under the impression that it was one, but maybe it might be two. I'm sorry, I apologize.
So we're making them, and we're gonna have them, or requesting them, is a better word,
Right.
to place a masonry wall, and the expense of a masonry wall around those two containers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And just as an overview, you can see this area right here would be that enclosed area. This would be the new enclosed area. That's the service bay. And then you'd have those two Connex boxes with the wall completely surrounding it. See if I can get you a better picture there. But that's probably the best view.
So that would give them additional storage plus the.
And a lot of the Connex. The Connex boxes are about 8 feet tall, so this would be a 9-foot wall. Is what they're.
It wouldn't give me any additional storage, it would just give me the storage.
Well, all it's doing is placing the boxes behind the wall.
Yeah, we don't get any more storage, we just enclose the boxes behind the wall.
Correct.
We don't, well, never mind. I was going to just ask a stupid question. I think you just answered it.
No stupid
About
questions
it.
here.
No,
No
I think
stupid
you already
questions.
answered it. We don't allow them anywhere in any other, this type of businesses. We don't have storage containers where people are storing stuff, do we?
Well, yeah, there's one that we still probably need to bring forward. I won't change the subject too much here, but there are a couple of other areas where we have found that storage containers are found on the property. Illegally, correct. And those items are still, they're pending right now, as far as
Well, I'm
discussions.
fine.
We do have, this is a public hearing, I have no one registered to vote, is there anyone that would like to vote?
Move to the public hearing.
Second.
Record your vote, please. Okay, public hearing is closed, go ahead. Any other questions? You move for approval?
Second.
And just for one clarification, on the sign issues, it does show a sign with the east elevation and the south elevation on the approved plans that are attached to the ordinance. Correct. Okay.
The love
Agree with that.
sign.
Yep, just the love sign.
Just one time.
And it does pass 7-0.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, sir.
We'll move to 2018-270, conduct a public hearing and consider an act upon an ordinance amending the use and development regulations of Plan Development District Number 99 by amending the development regulations related to signs on 23.14 plus or minus acres, lots 1 through 7, block 1 of the Stonegate addition.
Thank you, sir. Well, this is for the Stonegate Church that's under construction on the northwest corner of Walnut Grove and US Highway 287. You've seen this come in for PD for Waterville last month. When they came forward to start applying for their sign permits, they realized they thought they could put a monument sign on Walnut Grove. The location of that monument sign on Walnut Grove and on 287 we're considering on different lots. Our current sign ordinance does not allow for off-premise signage unless it's in a unified sign development plan or through the PD somehow. And so, through talks with them, they wanted to bring forth a sign package to amend their PD and add to it. We believe that through talking to them, we went ahead and limited some of the signage that they were proposing, or they went ahead and limited some of the signage that they were proposing. This is for the future development of the entire property. Each marker that you see here are future monument signs. Per our sign ordinance, we allow 1 monument sign per property. These lots would conform with regular lot sizes. This has been